Hey everybody, Father Adam here. It's May 13th, the Feast of Our Lady of Fatima, and it's almost 3:30 in the afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Father Adam's Musings, the Motorcycle Edition, Motorcycle Musings. And finally we got some nice weather. It was, as you are well aware, pretty cruddy over the weekend. We even had snow and all that kind of stuff, but today is nice. It's sunny, not much wind. It's a little cool, but nice day for a ride. So here we are, out for a little ride. So I thought I would just talk about something that a lot of people have been asking about, which is when is the church going to open up? And that's something I'm wondering too. I do not have a crystal ball, so I do not know. But I can give you some information from the Chancery Office and some kind of educated guesses, I suppose. But at this point, nothing is certain. So 2 weeks ago, the bishop had a conference call with the priests of the diocese over the telephone. We were all able to join in and listen, and the bishop spoke about a bunch of things, but one of his personnel who works at the Chancery Office spoke about his predictions about how the reopening would happen, and he spoke about the Government of Ontario 3-stage reopening plan. So you can go to the Government of Ontario website and you can find it, you can download it, you can read the whole thing. It's all right there. There's a 3-stage plan. And he basically kind of keyed in our reopening process to that document. So 3 stages. The first stage basically would, for us, so you're going to have to go and look at the document, because I can't remember all the things the government talked about in that, but the first stage would be, and it's all, the government document is all depending on, how many coronavirus cases there are and the statistics and if they're going up or down and by how much. But basically, so when we enter first stage, he thinks that's when the parish offices will be able to open up. And at this point, it's looking like, honestly, probably the end of May, maybe early June. And I'm just totally guessing at this point, okay? So don't put these kind of timelines in your calendars, because no one really knows what's going on right now. Well, maybe someone does, but it's certainly not me. So let's just assume early June is when parish offices start opening up. Then we're going to have a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, likely, in that phase 2 or phase 1. So before we get into phase 2. So now we're in phase 2. Well, we're assuming at that point we can crowd size, numbers will be increased from 5 to who knows what, maybe 10, 15, 20, I don't know. And we'll be able to have daily mass at that point with crowd size limitations. So that'll go for a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks. And then we're into kind of the start of July, when we're going to get into phase 3 or stage 3. And at that point, we should be able to start opening up for Sunday Mass. And there's still going to be crowd size limitations, so it's not going to be normal. We're not getting back to normal in July. There's going to be limitations on how many people can be in the church. I expect, again, this is just me speaking, that they're going to base it on the capacity of the building, and then say, like, 20% of the capacity, that amount of people can be in the church. So our church holds about 750 people. So we're looking at, close to 200 people would be able to be in for a Sunday Mass. And the Bishops' Conference, they are already meeting and trying to figure out, kind of how we're going to do this, how communion is going to be distributed, all of the different things. I expect that, hymnals will be removed from the pews in our church, the Bibles too, so that people aren't kind of picking things up and touching things. There's probably going to be no holy water in the holy water stoops, a bunch of that kind of stuff. So we're waiting on directives regarding all of that. So here we are now in kind of early July, and then I guess things go from there, and God willing, things open up more and more as we go. So it's going to be a while before we get back to normal. So there's that. Some of the things I've been thinking about is the logistical management of that. It's obvious and certain that there will be crowd size limitations imposed by the government on how many people can be in the church. At our church, normally, pre-coronavirus, we would get, 12 to 14, even 1,500 people over a weekend at the 3 masses. So, let's just say 1,400 people. Let's say 1,500 people because the math is easier. So that's 500 per Mass. And let's assume our capacity is 200 for a Sunday Mass. So there's 300 people that aren't going to be able to be there in the church. So there's a few things to think about. One is a lot of people are not going to come to Mass because they're elderly and vulnerable, and it makes sense for them to stay away. And I frankly think they probably should stay away. To me, that makes sense. And hopefully the bishop will offer a dispensation for all the people, dispensation from the obligation of attending Sunday Mass for all the people in the diocese. If that doesn't happen, I will certainly offer one for the people of the parish. So people don't have to go to Mass. So if people are elderly or sick or anything like that, they are wise to just stay home. So our numbers will be smaller. We'll have fewer people. Okay, so from 500, there's still probably going to be some people that aren't going to be able to get into Mass because we're going to be at the, capacity given the government regulations. So we're going to have people at the doors basically counting people as they come in. And I'm not entirely sure how we're going to manage that. I'm hoping, we can all figure that out. Counting people that come in and then basically closing the doors, and saying, well, certain people you can't come in, after a certain amount of people are in the church. So there's that. And then there's going to be a lot of norms about distribution of communion, face masks, all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned for more details about all of that. Anyway, so that's where we're at. I don't know, kind of how things are going. I know people are getting very frustrated, and believe me, I totally understand. This has gone on too long, and there's all kinds of questions about, religious liberty and freedom of assembly and whatnot, that I think are important questions that don't seem to be really, they're not being answered at this point. Anyway, so I won't go on because I could go on a long time about those kinds of issues. I'm not in the loop about, what's going on at the chancery level, at the diocese, what they're doing to resolve these kinds of things in terms of how we get open back up. So I don't know. I don't have any answers about those kinds of things. I suppose if you want, you could always contact the bishop directly. You can go to the Hamilton Diocese website, and he's got a link there where you can email the bishop. So there's that. There's one more thing. Oh yeah, so confession. The bishop has made it clear that we are able to take confession or meet people for confession by appointment. That's funny. I didn't realize there was a whole maple leaf plant right there. Anyway, I'm in the East End at this point. I don't really know where I am, but anyway, so if you need confession, no matter what parish you're in, you can call your pastor, and he is, in our diocese, permitted to meet you for confession. So there's that. I'd like to kind of expand on that and make confession even more available, and even kind of quasi-schedule it to some degree. I'm kind of trying to figure out how to do that. We still have government limitations on crowd size of 5. There's fines that can be imposed if we have more than 5 people, and I don't want to run afoul of that because, well, I will have to pay the fine. So, anyway, but I think we can do it with a bit of creativity. Anyway, so stay tuned for that. I'm thinking it through. I've been talking with a few people about kind of logistically the best way to do it, and it's not obvious to me how to make that happen. But it's something that I want you to know that I'm thinking very seriously about. It's something I obviously want to do. It's really just the logistics, because if we have scheduled confessions and there's more than 5 people, then we could get the fine. And I don't know how to limit, like if I'm hearing confessions, I'm not exactly in a position where I can kind of be out there regulating crowd size, so I would depend on someone else to be doing that. And I don't know, who would be willing to do that. So, and really what the best way is. We could do it in the parking lot, and I would assume in the church as well, as long as we're doing social distancing and, all of that kind of stuff. So anyway, there's that. I want everyone to know I am still saying Mass every day. We had a whole bunch of, Mass intentions, and those are all being said. Every day I say Mass, and saying it for the intentions for the day. Every day I'm praying for the people of the parish and saying Mass for all of the people of the parish. So if you're a parishioner at Regina Mundi or attend Regina Mundi, then you are most certainly included in that. And I'm praying for the bishop and the government officials that everyone can make the right decisions. Obviously that respect the spiritual needs of people and the rights of people to their religious liberties and the right of assembly, things I'm really concerned about right now. But again, I will not speak about those things. But all that to say, there's the timeline. If you need confession, just call me at the church or email me, and we can set that up. At this point, we're doing confessions in the church parking lot, just kind of standing up, kind of at the edge of the parking lot. If there's people there, we go over to the side. It's kind of works. It's far from ideal. It is not even close to ideal, but at least we can adhere to the government guidelines on social distancing and protect each other from the transmission of the coronavirus. So if you need confession, call the parish, email me. We can most certainly set that up. If you've got ideas about how to arrange confessions in a more organized way, I'm certainly open to ideas. As I say, I'm kind of struggling to think of a way to make it happen, but I'd like to. And if you can think of things that I'm not thinking about, let me know. And I'm really looking forward to when we can get back to normal and be together and celebrate Mass and see each other and just be a parish family again. Anyway, hope everyone's doing well. I'm praying for you. Please pray for me too. I would be super grateful for that. And I hope everybody, you all enjoy the rest of your day.